Since the Brexit vote, hate crime in England and Wales has risen.
Brexit! Brexit!
Yes, of course. This is racist.
Brexit!
Of course.
One of the guys just took a bottle and smashed it, so I got stabbed on the side of my neck.
We already know there was a spike in race and religious hate crime in the weeks after the EU referendum.
That is the month of the vote, and what we can see is that hate crime rose by around 28% in England and Wales.
But what's happening now? Tonight, we exclusively preview the government's latest hate crime figures, due out next week.
I think we're looking at a fairly significant rise in hate crime over the year. You have a spike increase, and then the daily average is generally increasing.
I am racist towards the immigrants, yeah? They're immigrants, yeah? For the simple fact is what they're doing to our country, yeah?
I want to find out if Britain, post-referendum, really is a more racist place. One of the country's leading experts on hate crime is Professor Matthew Williams. He analyses the official hate crime figures, where police decide crimes reported to them are racially and religiously motivated.
What we did here was took the month of the referendum and then the 2 months after, averaged them out and compared with the same months the previous year. So what we see here is essentially a bar chart, and what we can see is that at the time of the vote last year in 2016, hate crime rose by around 28% in England and Wales. If we look at West Midlands, we have another significant increase in reported hate crime. I think this overall picture that we're seeing here is that this spike is repeated more or less throughout the entire country, with the exception of a few areas. The referendum, in our opinion, was a trigger event. A trigger event. We've been looking at various kinds of events that trigger an increase in hate, both on and offline, and we found that events such as terror attacks, events such as high-profile court cases, and events such as political votes can have an effect, such as the referendum, can have a discernible impact on rates of hate crime.
Race and religious hate crimes in Scotland and Northern Ireland fell after the referendum.
So what we have here is a line chart, essentially, of hate crime rates over a 3-year period. The black line here is England and Wales, so it's the crime rate, crime rate for race and religious aggravated crimes over the full period. And as you can see, we have a spike. That is the month of the vote.
This spike is the referendum?
Yeah. Yeah. What's interesting is when we add in, for example, a high Remain voting area, say Thames Valley. Here we get
there's no spike at all.
Very, very minimal, so no spike in this largely Remain area. We can now add in a Leave area. Let's choose West Yorkshire. Okay.
Oh my goodness, so it's West Yorkshire, wow, so it's spiked even higher there.
It looks quite anomalous. There is an unprecedented rise in reported hate crime in West Yorkshire, reaching similar levels to the Metropolitan Police area, which is staggering.
Would it be fair to say that the majority vote Leave areas actually have seen the biggest rises in reported race hate crime?
For the majority of Leave voting areas, hate crime rates are much higher than in the Remain areas. Whether it's causal or not is another question, but there is an association there. So I can't say that one causes the other, but the pattern exists, the association exists.
Abuse and attacks since the Brexit vote have not been solely directed at EU migrants. Anti-Muslim hate speech in particular has spiked significantly since the referendum.
Social media is an interesting way of looking at, if you like, the mood of the nation at any one point in time. As many as 80% of people use Facebook, for example. Around about 20% of people use Twitter in the UK. So what we've done is build bits of software that can trace the production and the spread of hate speech on social media. This chart is dated from the 18th to the 30th, so we have the 23rd, the vote of the referendum here, and a huge spike in anti-Muslim sentiment. What this, I think, shows is that for some voters, the vote was about immigration, both inside and outside of Europe.
Yeah.
which is slightly confusing.
Which is confusing.
Yeah, but we did identify a discernible spike in anti-Muslim sentiment
that's an
around the
enormous
vote.
spike.
Yeah, it's in the magnitude, say, of around 200 to 300% increase based on the previous days and weeks. We also then have some aftershocks.
Right.
Following on from the event. So, for example, the High Court case and the Supreme Court case, and then the triggering of Article 50 resulted in discernible social media reactions that we can trace using our bits of software.
We now know from Professor Williams' research that race hate crime and online hate speech rose sharply in the months after the Brexit vote. We won't know whether the figures have now returned to more normal levels until the next set of data is published by the Home Office in the summer. I can't help wondering what impact the recent spate of hate crime is having on those immigrants who've chosen to make Britain their home.